Hi, True Crime Grapevine fans. It's me, Patty Lee, here with the True Crimes Grapevines daily True Crime Headlines. Easy for me to say. Today is Wednesday, or excuse me, I'm a big fat liar. Today is Tuesday, September 12th. It feels like a Wednesday. If you, like me, were up all night watching live streams of the Daniello Cavalcante manhunt, which heats up every night right about 8 o'clock. So it is East Coast time, and he is on East Coast time in Pennsylvania and Chester County. It is about 8:30 almost now. Well, there's already maybe a sighting, but let me just tell you, get a drink, and if you're in Pennsylvania, you might want to get a gun and sit by your window because things in Chester County, Pennsylvania are cray. So here's what happens. There's a pattern now. He's not seen during the day, but he's seen at night. It seems like maybe during the day he sleeps, and other people besides me, because we heard that when he committed a crime in 2017 in Brazil, he went into the Amazon jungle and survived there until he could get on a boat and get to Puerto Rico, and then came to the United States illegally, where his sister was living on a visa. So what's that got to do with him being like hiding during the day? Well, maybe what he's taken to doing is going up into the trees where maybe dogs can't sniff him as well, or and he also seems to be walking at night through creeks or following creeks. So that, walking through water disguises your scent. So they are using dogs as they would do almost in any manhunt, right? That's like manhunt 101, or person hunt, I guess we're going to be PC. So he goes through creeks when he walks at night. It seems like he's always around a fresh water source like that. And that also gives him some direction, right? But then maybe during the day, we saw how he could Spider-Man out, jump on the top of the roof and run out of jail. Maybe he's able to scale into trees that are heavily covered still right now because it's not quite fall. So, all that foliage keeps him, like in the Amazon, when you're up in the canopy, you would be hidden. So that's what a lot of people are thinking he's doing. So it is 8:30 and there's already maybe a sighting. So in the past 24 hours since I spoke to you on Monday night on the 11th, right while I was on live streaming about 8:30, all of a sudden there was a sighting by a woman. She was in a car and she thought, as she drove by a field, that she saw a man, hunkered down in the field across from this house. And she turned around and went to go by. She didn't see him again. Well, that probably was him. How do we know? That was on Fairview Road near Pottsville in Chester County, the northern section of Chester County. And from that house, the people who were living there saw these all of a sudden, because the lady called in 911 and everybody came, and they saw these flashing lights. They went out and they're like, what's going on? And then they noticed that there was a suspected sighting. They're like, oh my God, my husband's boots that he uses to do the lawn are missing off our porch. And then they found Cavalante's shoes on their property. He also seems to have shed his green sweatshirt, because soon after that, there was noises that they found a green sweatshirt as well. So he took off his prison shoes, which seemed to be all wet, maybe from walking in a creek. It's also been raining a lot in that area. So he got some fresh shoes. Then he broke into, and I forget if this was on Pizer Road, but he broke into I think it was also around Fairview, broke into a man's garage, maybe looking for more supplies. Anyways, what he found, unfortunately, was a gun, a 22 sawed-off rifle, and ammo. So we know they specifically said that he had 10 rounds, but it's also been reported that there was ammo, so maybe more than just 10 rounds. Maybe he grabbed a box of ammo. So he is armed and dangerous. But that person saw him from the house and started shooting at him, got off 7 shots, didn't hit him. So he made away with a weapon. So 2 known sightings of him yesterday, and they made a very now they do have another perimeter that they've been waiting and they're pushing in on. So he moves at night. So we're right as I was coming live, another sighting, perhaps. So here's to all the hardworking men and women of the U.S. Border Patrol, the U.S. Marshals, and the state and local police out in Chester County, Pennsylvania. Because tonight they're going to be up. This is how it is the past 3 nights. They're going to be up all night. If you're interested in following, as soon as there's a sighting and the chase is getting crazy, 2 YouTubers specifically will jump on stream. One is Gisela K of Grizzly True Crime, and the other one is Mel from South Florida, Icked Mel. And they both, when they do big stories, it's a little bit different, with Gisela being a little more like streamlined production with lots of bullet points and maps. But they're kind of similar what they're doing when it's the live manhunt, which is they will have a couple of streams up of people who are on. There's YouTubers on the ground on the perimeter. There's 2 specifically that you can watch that are live, not all of the day, but most of the day. And I have to look at the one man's name because it wasn't as familiar. JLR at investigates. JLR at investigates. He's live all the time. Boots on the ground. He's got a stream going and he talks. He talks to people walking by. I guess he's really well known because everybody's talking to him. The other one is the new YouTuber, and he's also on other social medias. He's on YouTube at Nick hyphen Nick spelled NIC hyphen at Nick hyphen the hyphen hat. That is Nick Hatzel. Oh my gosh, you guys, it looks like this. If you can see my writing, that's his information on YouTube. He's got a scanner going in the background and seems to have a really good working relationship with the police, although so does the JRL guy. So those are 2 YouTubers if you want to watch the whole thing. But when there's a car chase, like always in the, like it's later. So right now I think 8:30, I think it's 5:30 out in Cali. LA has the best car chases, and Icked Mel will go live and watch a car chase. And I don't know what it is. It's very exciting to watch a car chase. It's strange, but it's some weird thrill. If you were around for OJ, and I mean, it's like that, but more exciting because they're going really fast. But it's like that where you watch for like an hour. I don't know. It's nuts. And then they always jump out at the end and we see if they get caught. Anyways, Icked Mel does that whenever there's a car chase. Well, this manhunt is right up his alley. It's very much like a car chase. And he has used the same software that Gisela K does, where you can see also, they put like a couple windows up and they show it's like circling and shows the tracks of the air flight going around. So both highly recommended. Icked Mel's a little more if you want like a little off the cuff, crazy, a little irreverent, and Gisela K is more like business like. Oh, excuse me, but both I highly recommend to watch this. So it seems like right as I went on, there might be another sighting. So that's the update on the prisoner. It is day 13 here in the U.S. of his escape. Now, escape people have been out for like weeks before. I mean, it's not unusual at this time period. He does not have a phone. It doesn't seem so. And he's going to it's starting to get chilly in the Northeast at night. So if he's wet, chilly, that's all going to work towards making him very uncomfortable, and he's going to need provisions. He did talk, we said on Monday, he tried to contact 2 of like old work people around Prussia, New York, or excuse me, what is it? King of Prussia? area in Pennsylvania, and neither of them wanted to help him. So if that's like the contacts he has is just people he used to work with, he doesn't have any strong networks. So that's good for everybody. And now he's armed and dangerous. So do not approach. Just call 911 if you see him. If you're in Northchester County, Pennsylvania, which is around Pottsville. Also, I think the next county up is it Montgomery County? They thought maybe there was a sighting in the next North County. They still think he might be moving towards like Philadelphia, a bigger city to blend into where he can steal resources, but we shall see. All right, that was a lot on Cavalcanti. Hopefully, every day it seems like this is going to be it. So I don't know. All right, the second case we have tonight to review that happened in 24 hours. Okay, we're still getting news about Ruby, Frankie, and Jody Hillebrand. The latest news came from an article that was in the U.S. Mail, which is kind of like, it's sometimes considered trashy, like sort of a National Enquirer, but I think it's a little bit better than that. Anyways, they usually aren't wrong. And Melanie Little talked about this on her channel, Melanie Little at YouTube. She's a lawyer, but so here's what's being said now publicly. Kevin Frankie's sisters-in-law. Okay, so Kevin Frankie has brothers and they married women. I think Kevin Frankie might be one of the younger siblings in his family. So these two women, Cynthia and Jennifer, spoke on record to the Daily Mail. And we said, well, Jennifer didn't have any like there was no love lost there. She's like, yeah, I never really liked her. She just thought she was better than all of us. She had, she called her a narcissist, but that word is thrown around. And I don't know. I can't say what she is, but the idea that she thought she was better than everybody else seems to be pretty clear. And one of the anecdotes Jennifer gave was that she came to her house and they had eaten, and then the cousins were given, it was their house, and asked mom for some more snacks after dinner, and she said sure. And Ruby, and the cousins offered it to Ruby's children, their cousins, and they said no. She said no, they can't have that. And she looked at Jennifer and was like, I can't believe you let your children run amok in your kitchen like that. And Jennifer was like, yeah, it's my house and I'll run it how I want to. But the fact that she just felt so that's wrong and you shouldn't do that. Well, anyways, there, like I said, there wasn't a lot of love lost there. And they hadn't seen physically them and their families gathered together, they said, for about 10 years. But the brothers spoke with Kevin, and they were aware that in 2000 and late 2021, this Jody Hillebrand entered their life and seemed to, I guess they said, so we know from other people that 3 years ago, which would be 2023, she was working with Ruby. She's probably recommended from the bishop, right? And working with Ruby on the oldest son who they sent to the camp, in the wilderness camp, the one that couldn't sleep in his room for 7 to 8 months and had to sleep out in a large area because he didn't earn, his room because he wasn't grateful enough or whatever. She thought she didn't want to enable him being, spoiled by whatever. She had to make sure he understood and feel some pain, which seems to be allegedly Jody Hillebrandt's weapon of choice. Also, is like pain will teach you how to be a better person. If you have enough pain, you will be better. And she thinks curiosity was like listening, being curious as to what your adult wants you to do. Which sounds a little cultish, doesn't it? And Jennifer and Cynthia, the sister-in-laws, brought up the word cult. They said Jody moved in about a year after that, like in 2021, early 2022. And for now, marriage counseling. So it went from helping with the son now she's going to help the whole family. She's going to move in with them. And she separated the husband and wife to different parts of the house. And then um, in after January 2022, Kevin had to move out to a townhouse. He was in his oldest daughter who tried to see him and couldn't. She's like, he got kicked out of his house from Jody. And he was saying, well, he was a bad person. Doesn't that remind you of the little kid on the tape saying he was bad? So that this whole thing is like a weird mind F, making the person feel like you deserve this pain. No, if you weren't bad like this, like, you have to get this out, and this is how we're going to do it. And you're just not good enough. He had a checklist he had to follow. And when he moved into the townhouse, he had a minder. And if you haven't heard the word minder, it's often used when people from Western democracies go into Eastern, very communist countries. They will assign you a minder to help you mind the rules and basically spy on you the whole time you're there to make sure you're not doing anything inappropriate to their very, very specific rules, like in Russia, like in China, like in North Korea, if anybody could get in, which most people don't, but you would have a minder. Okay, so Kevin had a minder in the townhouse that he was paying for. So somebody moved in with him to watch him and make sure he was doing what, I mean, this is all so insane, you guys, how much control Jody had over this family. And if you're watching Mormon Stories podcast or Hidden True, the Matthias one, it's not Hidden True Crime. Maybe it is hidden. It's hidden something. I think it's Hidden True Crime. They had on this man named Adam who describes his experience with Jody Hillebrandt's therapies and how she basically used everything he said during therapy with his wife to break them apart, and they ended up getting divorced and then ruining his life, saying how he's a horrible person. So I don't know if she's specifically, what's the opposite of a misogynist? Like, she's anti-man. And I'm not going to say feminist because that's pro-woman. She's like anti, it seems like, husband. Now, there's all these other, and I'm not going to get into twisted rumors about why she might be interested in getting wives away from husbands, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, as a therapist, she's there to help. And it seems like she gets in, moves in a like love bombing way with one partner, gets them to commit to very expensive and intensive therapy that ends up with her being at the center of their family. Sounds like a cult leader a little bit, doesn't it? Allegedly. I'm just saying my speculation. All right. So yeah, the sister-in-laws had a lot to say about what they were hearing from Kevin and then from the older daughter once Kevin wasn't speaking to anybody since 2022. Now, after the arrests, his brothers reached out to him, and apparently he did say, what was his quote? That he just said, it was gaslight. The gaslighting is real, and this is messed up. So I guess, I think we can all agree this is messed up. And I guess he was gaslit. I think he was. That is probably an accurate use of the term gaslit, because he was made to feel he was crazy and he was bad. And I think they did the same thing to little kids, which is like, to a child who's developing, is so disgusting and damaging. And one of their charges is for emotional abuse, which definitely it should be, because that's some crazy stuff. So we haven't heard more about what happened with their medical care. So maybe you've heard something. Hey, if you're watching, you could like and subscribe and hit the bell. I don't know if you want to. I go live every weeknight. I'm just trying to catch everybody up. I knit all day while I watch my true crime. I take care of my new crime kitties. And yeah, then I'm here for you in the evening. All right. So our third story my last update for today, yeah, is a tangential link to Rex Human and the Lisk killing. It has to do with one of uh, the police chief soon after Shannon went missing, and who was Shannon Gilbert, and was in charge. And his name is Jimmy Burke. And we heard of Jimmy Burke because he got into a little trouble. And yesterday, September 11th, he pled not guilty to the two remaining charges. They took down two of the charges for soliciting because apparently he didn't say the words in the exact order that could mean he was soliciting an act, more of like he'd just be open to it. So for public lewdness and decent exposure, because he had something out when he made his statement about what he might be open to, um, those, I don't know how he's going to think he's getting out of it, but he said, not guilty. So what is interesting about Jimmy Burke that I've only heard referenced like slightly, but never really understood was, so he was in power because of Tom Spoda, who was an assistant DA in Suffolk County, and he helped Jimmy Burke. Like he always promoted him, he sort of guided him. And you're going to say, well, why would he do that? Well, when Jimmy Burke was a teen, he was a star witness to a murder. And I think this murder, I either heard Stephanie Harlow or I heard Bailey Sarian. Shana shana, shana shana. Shana shana, shana shana. If you know, you know. Tell the story of John Pius, and it's Pius. He was unalived in 1978. He was a 13-year-old boy who took off on his bike and never made it home in August of 1978. He was found in a wooded lot behind a school, his elementary school, the town's elementary school. This is in Smithtown, New York. And he was unalived with rocks shoved down his throat that asphyxiated him. And apparently the story was that he saw some older teen boys with something they had stolen and he was going to tell maybe, or they were afraid he was going to tell, but we don't really know. And here's the deal. Jimmy Burke, I don't know if he was the star witness, but how did he know? The two people that went down with it were these two brothers, and they have always maintained they were innocent and that the police and the assistant district attorney, Tom Spoda, was dirty. And at the time, everybody was like, yeah, of course you're going to say that because you're a horrible, child who killed this smaller child, right? But when we look back as to who Jimmy Burke ended up being, and apparently in high school, he would tell people he wanted to be a cop so that he could break the laws with impunity, meaning he wouldn't get in trouble. And in his job, he was known to break all the laws and get other people to cover for him. Like when someone stole something out of his car that involved inappropriate materials having to do with corn, maybe snuff corn, that this guy was brought in without really being brought in, and he was a heroin addict. He thought something was weird, but he had stolen this bag out of a police cruiser, not too smart, or maybe it was his unmarked car, but he got the idea right away that it wasn't your normal interrogation, and they beat the crap out of him. Jimmy Burke did. And there were two people there. They both went to jail because of obstruction of justice, because they saw it and they didn't tell. And the guy, Christopher Loeb, ended up getting whatever, paid for. I mean, he got compensated eventually, but this is not like Jimmy Burke. Duty Ron did a whole thing about he dated SWs, which is fine, dated, but one, he gave her his car, his cruiser to drive while she was on coke, and went home and did a coke party and had his gun out with her. And I don't even think he got in trouble for that, just written up maybe. It's all insane. But another SW a worker in the night, said like how horribly rough he was with her. And a number of people have said like he was really, people said he wasn't really into drugs. He was into really kinky stuff and violent. So I am wondering, of all the people involved in John Pius's case, maybe the person who was the star witness really was the person throwing other people under the bus when he might have been the person. I don't know. Again, that is my speculation, only based on his character. But he did plead not guilty. Now, John Ray, if you remember, the lawyer for Shannon Gilbert's family, and he's a very eccentric, very flashy dresser, older man, but so interesting. But he's like, yeah, I think Rex and Jimmy Burke could have crossed paths. They were both into really, obviously, the S&M type sort of S worker, playing hard type thing. They both grew up in the same general area on Long Island. I mean, did they know each other? I don't know. Jimmy Burke might be a weird spoke to a lot of these strange things that happen in Long Island, is what I'm speculating, just my speculation. What do you think? So that's it for today's updates on Too Much Crime and Not Enough Time. So hopefully I've caught you up on it. If you've been busy doing actual work and being with family today, I'll watch what happens tomorrow, and I'll be back here tomorrow night to let you know what happens then too. So go do your real life, and I will tell you what happens tomorrow. All right? It'd be great if you could subscribe if you want. And also, if you have any ideas in the comments, if you think I'm way off base, if you too think Jimmy Burke's weird, do you think they're going to find Cavalcante tonight? I mean, or is it going to be longer because he's a master hider? I don't know. And if you have anything that makes any sense about what Jody Hillebrand was doing out there in Utah with families as the therapist, put it in the comments. I would love to have a discussion. All right. That's it for Tuesday, September 12th. See you tomorrow.